And we're live. All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening,
Good
good
evening.
evening.
Good evening. Are you talking to
Tell
me?
your friends, tell your mama, tell your loved ones, tell everybody you know that we live.
We be
Yes,
live.
sir.
Yeah.
Somebody
Who's
got
got
to
me?
turn down their
Yeah,
volume.
Oh,
who's got me live?
sorry. I was sharing it. I was sharing it. My bad. My bad. That was me.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
funny.
we are tonight. We are well. First of all, I'm yours truly, Christian David. We have Miss Tiffany Binion Mangum here back with us, and Chris Pennywell. And
Yours
tonight,
truly.
yeah, and tonight we
Um,
are going to have a very, 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 very fun conversation with a special uh, guest tonight, Miss Blair Monique Walker, who will be joining us momentarily. So, yes. Anyway, the conversation before she comes in, the conversation on biracial families, biracial children, and we were actually having a very interesting conversation about a few minutes prior to prior to coming on here. And by the way, please share the broadcast, start your watch parties, and all of that. Um, but we were having a very interesting conversation about how fair skinned people uh, at one point were treated, differently and better than, the darker skinned individuals. Um, I don't know if and as they were talking about that, I'm gonna be honest. I was going back in my mind. I was like, have I ever experienced um, being treated differently or having some sort of advantage because I was of a lighter complexion than somebody else? And I don't know if I have, but Chris, Tiffany, you all want to jump jump on that? The conversation we were having.
ladies
Yeah,
first.
no, thank you, sir. I was definitely sharing how that element of colorism was even within my own family. However, in reverse, if I could say that, one of the things the stories passed to me was really how my grandmother, growing up in Louisiana, was very turned off by fair skinned gentlemen. And if you knew fair skinned gentlemen in the early 1900s in the South, there was a certain lack of humility, if we can say it gently, um, about them that really kind of turned her off. And so she really was not interested in fair skinned men. And so she tended to lean more towards darker skinned men. And actually, that's who she ended up marrying. My grandfather was a very very dark skinned man, and yeah, but colorism exists within our community in and of itself, within the Black community. I tend to personally think that, because we come in all shades, it's wonderful to see the diversity within with amongst our own people. So
Hmm.
Awesome. And
Well,
we have Blair here, but we're gonna hit you, Chris, real quick before we bring Blair on.
yeah. Yeah, I've experienced a level of colorism, and I know it goes both ways. It goes both ways for when you're really light skinned, but also for us that are very dark, we get the brunt of it as well. And like we were discussing earlier, I think that was ingrained into culture. It's self hatred, to where
mm,
we don't quite, you know, we don't quite accept our beauty, or the beauty that comes with the very shades that come with black. And so sometimes, like a person that was dark like myself growing up in the 80s, it's not like how it is now. It wasn't like how it is in
mhm,
the mid 90s. In the 80s, if you were not, for the most part, unless you have to be an extreme athlete or something like that, or something that was out of the ordinary, If you were just a regular dark skinned person, you didn't really get much play, especially as a dark man, So I got a lot of rejection simply because I was just dark skinned. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
brown like my middle brother, and I surely wasn't on the complexion of my oldest brother. So I was chocolate. I was more complexion of my father, and so I got talked about quite a bit. You got those jokes, the light come out, lights go out, and be like, oh, where's Chris? Or they come up with the jokes of like,
Mm.
you're so black, every time you walk out the car, the oil light come on, things like that, and don't get me wrong, we all played around and we joked, but we always made that, oh, ooh, you're black, oh, you're dark, you know. I literally had to correct my kids a long time ago. This is a long time ago because
Mm.
my wife, she's very bright skinned, just how it happened to be, and my kids are more kind of in the middle, and so I remember one time one of my kids was like, "Oh, mommy's light. Oh, my oldest son is light. I'm light. My other kid is light. My dad is black." And the way it was said it was like, and so I stopped my one of my kids when they were young. I said, "Where did you learn that from? Where did you learn
Mm.
that from?" And they didn't quite know but I began to educate them and let them know, like, no, our color comes in many shades, and all of it is beautiful. Never think
Mm-hmm.
that something is black is ugly. But because society, we have been socialized to think that the standard of beauty is more of a European or Eurocentric type of beauty. And then sometimes we get so much rejection, we reject the lighter skinned people, which we should not do. It's hurt keeping on hurt. Hurt people are hurting other people. And I think that's what sometimes many times happen. But that was my
That I think Blair's ready, so we're gonna bring her on here. Let's see.
hello,
And here
Blair.
she is,
Hi.
Blair Monique
Hi,
Walker.
Hi,
Blair.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you for having me, guys.
Good
Absolutely,
evening.
absolutely. So,
Welcome.
can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into the conversation?
Wow, that's a loaded. um, I think most people know me from being a gospel artist, uh, and I'm a graphic designer as well. So I have a lot of accounts that people know, like major mega churches and stuff like that. Um, I'm a mom, a wife, and I do a lot of other things. And as of late, apparently, I'm being called an activist for the biracial community, which I just never even foresaw at all. So
Mm.
I really appreciate you guys for even taking the time to listen to the video and wanting to get more into the conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Little plug, y'all. She is a dope, 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 dope graphic design artist. So if y'all need anything,
Thank
y'all
Yes,
you.
she is.
hit
Great.
her. Hit her. She is dope. But for those of you who missed Friday's show, where this special edition actually stemmed from, we have Blair. She was on the phone with us on Friday, and we saw a video that she had posted where she was talking about her experience as a biracial child. Her father is black and her mother is white, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And so she was talking about her experience in this current climate, in the current state of affairs, with the killings of the unarmed black men going on, and how that's affected her, and how kind of her eyes have been opened to some of the things, some of her new realities and things that have been going on. So I'm going to allow her to kind of talk on that a little bit. Then we're going to kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so honestly, I had to like psych myself out before I even went live about that because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm hurt. But what's gonna happen to my family after this? So even though I was so disappointed in them and so hurt by the things that they were saying or not saying, I have a heart, So at the end of the day, I'm thinking like what's gonna be the aftermath. But for me, it was more important to prove to my children, show my children an example that you got to love yourself and no part of yourself should you deny, even if one side seems to be ignorant at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not all of them, but it is a lot. um, and so I went live just to talk about. I reached out to my family members. First of all, I hadn't heard from them in a very, very, very long time. I moved from New York to Georgia, and so I think the temperature was already kind of weird because of that. I've been in New York my whole life, and I just decided for my success, I gotta go. I can't be there for everybody. And so when this started happening, first of all, we know that it just didn't start happening, but I think now that because we have social media, we have camera phones, that now it is at an all-time high that we're finding out about. Um, and so I was devastated. I mean, I'm talking about crying every day. Like, man, I don't know these people, but like, this is crazy. This could be my son. It could be my husband. It could be me. If a cop pulls me over, I don't look white. You know, I'm black. You get what I'm saying? So I reached out to them and I got things back like, I feel bad for the cop. His whole life is ruined now. Um, and I was like, what? You know how the tape rewinds? Like, wait, excuse me? And it was like, yeah, I feel bad for his family. He's not going to be able to go anywhere, do anything. And I'm like, good. What do you mean? You just murdered somebody. They just murdered. I mean, all of them that are doing it don't deserve their freedom. So what are you saying? And I think the point that made me really angry was he said, and this is the person that raised me to love everybody, so I was caught off guard. Um, that he doesn't understand how one man dying could cause all of this ruckus. So that let me know that there was no value in life, period. So if it was me and somebody decided to do a protest or to get angry or whatever, would you say the same thing about me, your family member, right? So I just like lost my mind for a few days because I just could not believe what I was hearing, what I was seeing, and the fact that it opened up my memories. It unlocked all of those doors that I kind of like put away and acted like they weren't there, all the racism that I experienced as a child, even from my own family. So, I mean, there's so much more, but I don't want to keep, you know.
Yeah. And I'm glad you. And I'm going to ask this first question, then we'll jump around to Chris and Tiffany, and Leah will be joining
Oh,
us momentarily as well. But you
okay.
just said the experiences you had as a child. What was it like growing up as a biracial child?
Um, so I just heard some things about like, they said if you were dark skinned, people made fun of you or rejected you. Just imagine not being able to be one thing. So, like when you're with your white family members, you're not white enough. When you're with your black family members, you're not black enough. You don't have enough soul. Um, you are the weird one. You're the light bright. Or sometimes I got it a lot from black women, which is crazy because I'm like, I'm a black woman. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't play me like that. But it was more so like, who do you think you're arrogant? You think you're better than me because you're light skinned. I've never, I think because of the way that my family treated me, I've always been the ugly sister. I have a gorgeous sister. She's like drop dead gorgeous. So I think that I was always treated like the lesser of the two. And so that kind of like followed me everywhere. So I always had low self-esteem. People don't believe that now, but it's really the truth. I thought I was ugly up until I was probably 30 years old, um, which I'm telling my age at this point. So, but I really did. I was like, I'm not good enough for anybody, anything. I saw myself through the lens of what they said, and so it was very hurtful because not only was I dealing with identity stuff from being confused about who I was, but then I had the low self-esteem to go along with it because my black family would say you have black features, but you're not black. So your lips, they used to call me soup cooler lips. So they used to walk by me and pop my lips and like, well, you don't fit in with the whites because your lips are too big, your nose is big, you're this, you're that. Or and then white people, it would be, well, you look so much like your dad that it bothers me. I was told that several times by, you know, my entire white side, that it bothered them that I looked so much like him. So it was very hard. It was hard in school. My mother would come to my events at school sometimes and they would say, oh, are you adopted or, whatever. And then I talked about how, I would slowly but surely start getting left home because it's like, I don't want to have to explain this every time I go out. But it was difficult. It was difficult. It really, really was.
I was gonna ask you, Blair. First of all, thank you for being here and sharing your
Absolutely.
story.
Thank
This
you.
is something that I wasn't even fully aware of until maybe about a month or two ago, talking with some biracial friends, not knowing that there was a struggle
Hmm.
that they're having. So, when, if you can think back, when was the first moment that you realized that you were really, quote unquote, different? You know, you weren't quite black, you weren't quite white, and then how did you kind of come to terms with who you are and
I
who
can
God
remember.
created you to be? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I can remember. I had to been like, this is the first thing I actually remember that was impactful that I can really say kind of hurt me. My mom, of course, once she divorced my father, she was pro-white. So she's,
Mm-hmm.
she's not KKK or anything, but she's like, I'll never do that again, right? And so she basically put the whole race in a box because of whatever she went through, and that's not cool. And so um, she would be with her friends, and they would all be cutting up. They had white children, obviously. I would always seem to get sent to the kitchen or to the basement to play, or you know what I'm saying? Everybody
Mm-hmm.
else would be in the pool together or chilling or whatever, and it would be the two little black kids don't belong here. So they would never come out and say it, but you knew that that's what. Why can't I come upstairs? Why can't I eat at the table? Why do I have to eat outside? Why does everybody else have a regular plate and I have a paper plate? Nothing wrong with
Really?
paper plates, by the way.
Oh
Mm.
um,
wow,
but
Wow.
it
wow.
They
was bad.
not really.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So, and I don't think that at first she was doing it even realizing what she was doing. I think it was more so like, I'm gonna protect my child from them so that they won't talk about her. But I believe where she failed as a mother was, I hate even having to say that, but I believe where she failed as a mother was just accepting me for exactly who I am and making everyone else around her accept me as well. And if they didn't accept me, you gotta go.
Hmm.
Right. So
I am sorry.
I struggle with that even to this day, to where me and my mom do not have a good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not just because of that, but it's a lot of that because she did not um, make sure that she spoke life into me in crucial years where I was supposed to, where I didn't know, I didn't have an identity as a mom now today. I pray over my children. I speak life into them. I tell them, I walk by my daughter's room every single day and tell her how beautiful she is, even if she look a hot mess. Like, I tell her how amazing she is, how gifted she is, even if I don't know all of her gifts yet. That was not. I was a singer, so of course I was put on display a lot. I will say that when it was convenient for everybody. Like I remember the Aretha Franklin concert. Aretha had me sing, and it was all my white family there, and then it was okay to accept me. This is my daughter. Isn't she
Very
amazing?
convenient. Very
But
convenient.
when I'm around your white friends, she looks so much like her dad. Oh, don't you want to go to your dad's this weekend? Or, it was that type of thing. So I eventually, after feeling all of that, I moved with my father. Um, because I was just tired of it. Not to say that that's something that I necessarily wanted to do at the time, but I was like, you know what? I don't identify with these people. I have to go
Hmm.
where I feel I'm a black woman. I feel black. I identify black. You know, I
Yeah.
don't I don't I don't like what's happening here. So it was hard. It was really good. I'm trying not to cry because I don't cried about this situation so much. But it was hard, and I never spoke out about this stuff ever. And it
Yeah.
sucks because
So
my sister right now is literally uh, going with the flow. I can't go with the flow. I can't do it.
yeah,
Wherever I feel injustice, wherever I've always been the one to speak out, I'm the black sheep. So be it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No wrong with. So I mean, even with that, and that's man, that's rough. Like, jeez, that's rough. And just man, that we hate to hear that you had to go through stuff like that. That was very rough. Now did you receive very similar treatment when you kind of went when you moved to your black side of the family, or was it a little bit more, a little bit less, or?
Um, there were jokes sometimes about just me being because I can't dance. It was stuff like that to where it would be like, well, that's your white side. So they would make jokes about that. But for
Okay.
some reason I didn't feel racism in that sense. I did feel accepted when it came down to my black side of the family majority of the time.
Mhm.
Because like I said, I'm full of soul, and so I think that even just the way I sing, people ask me, they're like, your mom is white and you sing like that, or just whatever people say, and they may not necessarily mean in a negative way. So no, I didn't really feel that. I felt out of place still, but I felt more in place with them.
Okay.
I would say that.
Everybody, real quick, you're watching Real Talk, special edition, biracial conversation with our special guest, Blair Monique Walker. Very candid interview tonight. So yeah, we've talked about your home life experience and your experience with your family. One thing that caught me as interesting in our previous interview, you stated that the bulk of the racism you received, if I'm correct, was been from other black women, and I believe you
Hmm.
said that today as well.
Hmm.
Can you take us into some of that?
Yeah, there was a post somebody posted just when I spoke out about this, and they said, "Hey, biracial people are not if their mother is white." That what she said was, and I don't know if I can say this on air or not, but what she said was, "You need a black vagina to make a black woman," and I was just like,
Wow.
"Oh, well, how
Wow,
come?" I said, "How come?" I mean, her whole page was nothing but hate against biracial women. And so I was like,
Oh,
what is her issue? Like, what is going on?
really?
And, oh yes. I mean, I shared it on my page just so
was she
y'all can go
ugly?
back and
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna say that.
I mean, because the reason I'm saying that, because she probably,
That's different.
you know what I'm
I'm not
saying?
gonna
She probably
say
was.
that.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, okay.
honestly, it has been a lot. Like in school, I was not accepted in certain groups. And so I was like, okay, wait, y'all know they're not gonna accept me in the white groups either because I'm too I would get things like you're too ethnic. I went to suburban schools, but there was a group of black girls that I
Mm,
just really liked that were super cool. They told me I couldn't join the step team. I actually, this is a honest to God story. My father will probably talk about it um, at some point. But I actually got kicked out of a school, East Ridge Junior High in Arundecourt, New York, because a black girl came up to me and she said, "You think you're all of that because you have long hair?" And she started throwing eggs and nair in my hair, right? So my hair
Mm.
literally just started, it was freshman Friday. And so I felt the hair in the back just start slipping out. I
oh,
went to the gym, those combination locks. There
Mm.
was a whole bag of them. And I went and found her and I shot them in her face and broke her teeth.
yeah.
So,
Well,
Fair trade. That's fair
amen.
trade. Fair trade.
I don't condone violence anymore.
Yeah, we don't either, but
But
that was a fair trade.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes,
You messed my hair
but
against your
that's
teeth. You messed
that's
my
the
hair.
type of stuff. That's the type of stuff that I dealt with in school. I'm talking about from white women, even in college. I went to Lincoln University, which is an historically black college.
HBCU.
They told me I did not belong there. Why are you here? I said, what do you mean? Like, do y'all realize when I fill out an application, if there's not a box for two or more races, guess what I have to pick? Because if I
Yeah,
choose white, people are gonna
you
look at me
would.
like I'm insane.
Mm.
Do you
Yeah,
get what I'm
And
saying? So
Mm-hmm.
this
just think
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
They just started infiltrating that within the last couple years.
this and I know it was a hot topic about 2-3 years ago, but this conversation that we're having with
Wow.
you and the things that you're sharing that you have actually experienced, and I think is why people, because I think I remember seeing some people when her name was it Rachel, what's her name, the
Oh,
white woman that,
Rachel
Those are
Dunn show.
yeah,
those
when
are
I saw some people that were really kind of confused as to, they were like, okay, she lied, but what's the big deal? the big deal is what we're talking about now. There are actual people who have lived this, who have experienced this, who have actually, so to perpetuate a story like that and it's kind of really making me mad all over again. But wow,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes. For
okay.
anybody to fake that when there is, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I there was a time where I would trade my life for any person who was just black.
Mm,
I would
Mm.
do that. Now, notice I did not say just white, and
mhm.
it's not a hate from me. It's just that I just didn't like the way I grew up,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I didn't identify with any of that. So there was a long time where nobody even knew. There are people in the industry that I've been singing background for or done records with that they never knew I was biracial. I never talked about it.
yeah.
Never.
Because you don't look it. You
No,
look
See.
like a
yeah,
sister. You
yeah.
know.
It wasn't until you did
Hey,
your
hey.
video. It wasn't until you did your video that I was like, wait, she's mixed, and I
See,
was like, wait,
nobody. Hmm.
So
People
that's
didn't know.
that's actually a question I have. Well, two questions really. One, how do you self-identify? Do you identify as a black woman, biracial? I know some people get offended when you say mixed. My daughter is quote unquote has is biracial.
Hmm.
And so I'm just curious, although she identifies as black. So I'm curious as to how you identify.
Well, for a long time, I was called mulatto, Oreo, zebra, um, cookie
Oh
dough,
my.
just stupid stuff, right? Um, so to avoid all of that, I just started identifying as a black woman. Like when
Mm-hmm.
people would ask me, I'm black, you know, I'm just really light skinned, which was a lie, of course. I told y'all I'm gonna be honest and real. So if y'all want that, then cool.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I've always felt black. I'm of course proud of who I am now because I realize that there is a entire group of people that need to hear my voice in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I don't identify with white. I just don't. People say that I do white things, like not being able to dance, or when I get angry with my children, that my husband even says your white is coming out. It's like Jesus, like that type of thing.
Oh my.
But it's funny. Yeah, even my husband, I had to check him a couple times. He actually thought when he first met me, my hair's kind of curly tonight, but my hair was really curly. When he met me, he thought I was actually Puerto Rican and black, so he thought he was getting a little mamacita, and he was just wrong. And when he found out I was half white, he was like, "Well, that's not as good, but I'll take it."
Oh.
I was like, "What?" And he just didn't realize. He's just going by what he doesn't hate anybody. He just didn't. It was just like, well, that's what we're being taught. Like, and of course he's experienced racism from white people, so he had that
Mm.
little thing in the back of his mind. And really, my grandmother called him Clarence for the first 5 years of us dating because she said it sounded more like a black name.
Oh my.
My white grandmother. So, he's experienced like a lot of stuff with my family to where I'm not going around them anymore. Don't invite me to anything. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Everybody, you're watching Real Talk, a biracial conversation on the biracial experience. We have our special guest, Blair Monique Walker, who's being very open and candid with us. We appreciate it so much. And our other co host, Miss Leah Marie, has just joined us tonight. So excited to have you in. I know we've been talking a lot. Leah, do you have anything that you wanna ask or that you wanted to jump in with?
I don't know. I haven't been able to follow along with the conversation. I was in a session,
Yeah,
but
so far we've talked about her family life and the the racism she's received from other Black women and that side and growing up, and so we've kind of gone into all of that.
okay. Does it irritate you when or do people walk up to you and be like, "So what are you?" Do you get that a lot? And if so, what do we need to learn You know, what else do we need to learn? Like, how do we approach those conversations? Because biracial children, or I like to say mixed children, because you know, one parent could be
Mm-hmm.
Italian and German and this, and then the other parent could be, you know, something else. And I have children in my family who are Persian and black,
Mm.
Hispanic and black, one white and black nephew. So we're kind of all over the board. So I don't even really address those things. I don't ask my nieces and nephews like how they feel. To me, they're black kids. You know, now they
Mm-hmm.
may identify as something when they get older, but how do you teach your kids to approach those conversations? Because I know my niece, she is extremely pale, but she has that thick, I mean, those curls is tight. So you can tell she has a drop of something in her. Like what
Yeah,
would you
exactly.
suggest, like
Mm-hmm.
if that conversation comes up, like how do we educate people on how to talk to our kids, you know?
Um, that's a really good question. Honestly, a lot of people don't stop me and ask me what I am because I think I just look like a light skinned black woman.
Hmm.
But the questions start happening like if I post something on social media on Mother's Day or something like that, and I introduce a piece of my family to people, then they're like, "Oh my god!" And it's really it's actually I'm Sicilian and black, but I just say white because they all look white, which I probably shouldn't do, because that's like a piece of what other people do to me,
Yeah,
and
their
I don't
heritage.
mean it. Yeah, and it irritates them actually because they're like, no, we're Italian, and then it
Mm.
makes it even worse because Italians don't like blacks. It's just take it all the way back to West Side Story. They've always
Mm.
been feuding,
Hmm.
right? So I would say the best thing for you to do is to educate your children, educate your family members because life is going to be hard. Now that people know that I'm biracial, I had clients. I talked about me being a graphic designer. I had a woman call me. This was right after um, Ahmad was murdered, and she said, "I somebody told me that you were biracial. Is that true? Like your parents are white?" I said, "Well, my mother is white." And she said, "Oh, well, I would like a refund." And I said, "For what? I already did the work." And she said, "I don't want to be your client anymore." And I said, "Can I
Huh.
ask you why? I mean, you can go on and do what you want to do, but why?" And then she said, "I can't. I can only support all black business. I cannot support white." And I said, "Ma'am, I am a black owned business. Do you know I'm a black woman? My father's black. First of all, my dad is black. Like he's black. I think that's why too, why some mixed children pick up a lot of those black features if they're you talked about being darker skinned, right? I picked up a lot of that. Even though my skin is light, my family, their genes are very, very strong. So I didn't come out with hazel eyes and light brown hair, and I don't look like the token mixed girl. When you think of mixed, that's what you think about. The Smollets, you know, all of
Mm.
them. Even there's so many people that you can name that look like that, and I don't look like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say really educate yourselves because this climate is going to destroy them if they're not prepared. Teach them to accept all sides, but also teach them never be silent when something like this is going on because then you're become a part of the problem
Mm.
because
Okay.
you do
Yeah.
have a black side. You're black. If it, like I said before, if an officer stops you, if he wants to kill a black person, that day I'll be dead. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's just be real. He's not going to say, "Oh, your mom's white. I'm going to let you go on with a ticket."
Yeah.
Do you feel more I know because you appear to be African American. Um, you do you find yourself, I don't know how else, do you feel more allegiance to black culture and black because that's just kind of where you've been plugged and identify and all that? Do you feel kind of divided allegiance? What do you feel around that to your cultures?
I don't feel divided allegiance at all. I don't know what this means for me to feel this way. I don't know, but I do not. I'm not screaming white right now. I'll just be honest with you guys. I'm not standing at the top of the mountain like, but I want you to love the white side too. Like it's just not happening, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's sad because I shouldn't feel that way. But when you have been denied access to that piece of yourself. Now it's like, okay, well, this is really who I am, and this is all I have. I'm proud of it, but this is all I have. So
Mm.
my kids even asked me. They were like, "Mommy, like, what do you?" And I didn't even know how to answer the question at first. I'm like, "Well, mommy's mixed." They were like, "Well, are we mixed too, even though daddy's black?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, 25%, whatever. But you're black kids. Y'all my little black kids. At the end of the day, there's no they don't identify with white either. And they've been treated a
Mm.
certain way. My mother actually
I
treated
was
my
going to
son
ask that.
different.
Mhm.
My mother, not my daughter, not the baby. I have a 2-year-old. I have a y'all. I don't even care if they hear this at this point. It is what it is. Um, I have a 2-year-old. I have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. My 14-year-old looks like my dad. There's no way around it. He looks like him. My mother has always treated him different.
Mm.
Mhm.
Always. She would call and not ask to speak to him. She would,
Oh my
when it
God.
came time for Christmas and stuff like that, she would not do the same for him. So I started denying her access to my daughter because I said, that's not fair. You're teaching him that he is not good enough to be in your presence. And you're saying it is okay, just how I grew up, to treat them differently, and that's not fair. He literally came to me when it really broke me is when he came to me and said, "Why does she keep calling for Layla and she doesn't call me?"
Oh man. So I want to ask the
And he's
question.
light skinned, but he just looks like my father.
She
Wow.
it obvious it's obvious she has a really strong dislike towards your father. You know,
She hates
I
him.
mean, has she ever, now that you're an adult woman, has she ever tried to talk to you about why and where that's coming from? What happened? The hurts that, I mean, I know it maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate for here, but I mean, just because obviously that's the root of it. It seemed like that's the root of how she treated you. That's the root of how she views black people. That views, because that hurt, that deep seated hurt, it's hurting generations, obviously. Has she ever even tried to
Uh,
talk about that?
yes, she was almost too vocal about it because it affected my relationship with my father. He was abusive to her.
Hmm.
Um, he was. He's always been upfront about that. He apologized
Hmm.
to her, obviously, years after,
Yeah.
but he was abusive to her, and I know that she went through a lot. Um, where again, I feel like she failed as a mom, and this is just me. I'm a mother now, so I'm like, I'm gonna make sure that I don't fail. And
Hmm.
if I have see, you can have failures and not be a failure,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can
Oh
experience
yes.
losses,
Yeah.
but your whole
Yeah.
entire life should not be. You should not be classified as a failure. And I feel like
Yes.
where she failed as a mom, because I struggle as a woman today, but I feel like where she failed is that she always talked bad about my father to me. Always. She always told me every situation that happened, even if I didn't see it, which I did see some abuse. But she always talked about it. She always said, or if I ever raise my voice or whatever, you're just like him. Or so it was
Mm.
always something negative tied to him. And then she just said basically all black men are this way. And that's just not the truth.
Mm.
I'm married to a beautiful, amazing, very respectful, loving black man
Yeah.
who I've loved since I was 15 years old, and he would never raise a hand to me,
That's
nothing.
awesome.
And he adores me, but the the stuff that I saw, of course, I know that that's the reason, but she has to. At what point do you say I need to be a mom now and raise my girls because I don't want them to grow up and experience the same type of thing? Okay, so teach me by showing me love and maybe not talking about him in that light because now you're teaching me unforgiveness. You're teaching me to hold grudges. You're teaching me, even though that's a terrible thing that he did. Okay, so now you're projecting on me.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying? I didn't do this to you, but you're making me pay for his mistakes, and that's not fair.
Hmm.
Yeah, everybody, you're
Yeah.
watching Real Talk. We have our guest Blair Monique Walker, who's being very, very candid with us tonight. We appreciate it so much. We had a comment that came in, and I want to get your your perspective and your response on this. When you were talking about your experience at HBCU, Leslie Hazel, which I'll show here, she said that her daughter, I believe, yeah, her daughter, her biracial daughter, just committed to an HBCU. So, what advice would you give her on how to cope, and what if she encounters the same type of experience?
Okay, so first of all, do not try to be extra. Um, what I mean by that is when I first got there, let me tell you, I knew I was going to experience. I went on a music scholarship because I wanted to be a music teacher at that time. And so before I went there, I literally like started studying faith ed music. Y'all gonna laugh at me so bad, but I dyed my hair red.
Mm.
I went and got um my clothes changed because I was wearing Banana Republic in high school when I knew I was going to Lincoln because I didn't want them to talk. I didn't want it to be an issue. I didn't want them to talk about me, so I tried to look down as possible. You get what I'm saying? Like that's where I was, and now that I look back at it, it was just so foolish. But I just didn't want to get made fun of because and lo and behold, because they saw my mom on orientation day, um, it never stopped. You do not belong here. There was girls that used to put sheets of paper underneath my dorm. Mind you, I had to switch
Wow.
dorms out too because the girl that I was staying with, she was like, I don't know why they put you with me. Like, this is crazy.
Mm.
You don't belong here. This is for black people. We don't have whites at this school, whatever. So they ended up switching my dorm, and so then I was in a co-ed dorm, which was not a great experience either. But it wasn't fun. So I ended up dropping out after my first year, and
Oh man.
I just didn't want to deal with it no more because for me it was like
Yeah.
I have already been dealing with this my whole entire life. This is not the
Mhm.
1960s. I'm over it. Get me out of here. Like that's
Yeah.
just where I felt. And I was like, you know what? In order to do music, I don't need a degree. And so I just gave up on it
Wow.
um,
Yeah.
because it just to me wasn't worth it. I would not advise anybody to do that. I would advise anyone now that I'm speaking to be stronger than I was. Find your voice early on in life. Don't
Mm.
worry about what people are going to say because you will have to pay for your own your stance on things when you're older. Because now I'm wishing I could go back to that moment and stand up to them girls and be like, first of all, you don't
Come
know
on.
me. I'm
Come
trying to,
on.
Yeah,
you know,
Oh boy,
yeah. Come
look,
on,
she
let's
held that. Hey, that was a
let's
good one. Hey, that was a good one. Hey, she held that back. She was like, I'm gonna stand up for
yes, yes, yeah, I felt it coming. Now, like I
those
said,
women. Those women.
oh my God, see, I have the Holy Ghost. I have the Holy Ghost. So
Come
I'm going.
on. You
I know.
let them
Hey,
speak. Let them speak through
hey,
you, daughter. That's all
I
we
feel
need.
you. He do that
But
with
But
me
I
I have
sometimes
a
too.
I
I
have
be
a
getting ready.
wait. Look,
I have
I'm
a
wearing
serious
my shirt
question.
today. I'm saved, but I'm not soft now. Don't
Come
don't come
on.
Come
don't come
on.
for me.
I need that
yeah,
shirt. I
No,
Don't
need
come
that
for me.
shirt. But
I have a question for you
no.
but
though.
You
A
know what?
serious
They need to
question.
do a
here's
shirt. Holy Ghost hands. That's what we'll put Holy Ghost hands. Don't play with
that's
Ah,
me.
right.
I get you.
Oh.
I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, we hear
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Okay. So would you say that marrying interracially, and not so much in your position because you are already mixed race or mixed background, but how would you, or how do you feel now about mixed race couples? Does that change your view on it, or do you still support it?
Oh, I support it. I think you should love whoever you want to love. And honestly, I think mixed children are beautiful. I love interracial relationships. What I don't like is okay, so let me not say it that way. If you are a white woman or a white man, and you want to be in a relationship with somebody that's other than your race, you better be prepared
Yeah.
to not just love, but to be educated and to love them unconditionally. And what I mean by that is you cannot deny who you're in love with depending upon who you're around, because that's where I have a problem. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I can love you in private. It's almost like a down low person.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Right,
Like, this is
right.
Hallelujah.
really what I
Yeah.
love. This is really what I want,
wow.
but I can't let anybody know. And that's not cool. So if you're not prepared to scream it to the mountaintops, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
ready for that type of relationship because you
I
are
like
going to
that.
experience a different level. You're going to experience it, and
Right.
it's going to challenge you as a person. It's going to challenge your character, your integrity, everything. But don't do it because it's cool. Because I know a lot of white women who just want to be down and get their hair. You always know. This is what's funny. You always know when a white woman
Come
is
on,
dating a
don't go
black
there.
man. It's just the truth. They get the same cut. They get the same. It's just a look. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a look. And so, but there are plenty of white women who, um, it's okay for that moment. When they're around their husband or
Yeah,
boyfriend's friends, is cool and accepted, but around your family is
yeah,
he
they switch
accepted?
up. Yeah.
They switch up. And so in my family, my uncle is white, his wife is Jamaican, or his wife was Jamaican. So all of the grandkids are actually mixed in my entire family. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
married outside of their race,
Mm.
but we all are feeling the same exact thing right now. So my cousin, her
Mm,
father is white. So when it says you are what your father is, she's like, well, wait a minute. I look like a black woman. I identify with black, but my dad is white. He even acts like he's black. But now he's denying me, and this is how I feel. So it's
mm.
a crazy. You got to be
Wow.
willing to love all of me all of the time.
Right.
That's
You
good.
know what? I say that a lot is showing up and being authentically yourself. I know we talk
Hmm.
sometimes, y'all, about code switching. When you're in certain atmospheres, we got to flip it on and then we flip it off when we're with our people. But one of the things, I have a lot of not biracial, but interracial couples, friends who are interracially dating and or married. And so one of the things I know I always encourage people to do is show up authentically yourself every single time, when it's hard, when it's
Hmm.
easy, when it looks good and feels good. But one of the things I did not realize is how much of a struggle that some of our interracial couples are really having. Not particularly with one of them, with in and of themselves. Some of them, yes, in and of themselves. It's like, I wanted you because it was the thing to do. You fine, you look good, and my babies will be beautiful. That's literally
But
what I've
why
heard some
why do we
women
say
say.
that?
That's literally what I've heard some women say.
And men,
I
don't get
know.
it
Two in
twisted.
particular who I will call out their name, but we ain't this
Yeah.
ain't that kind of show.
So
So
I must say, I produce beautiful babies, so
yeah,
that's great.
first of
That
all,
part I do too. Hallelujah. But
I
the
produce
fact of
some
the
very
matter
beautiful
is, I
babies.
need
but
to know them names. Go on and call them out. But go
the
ahead, daughter.
the idea that having a black father, the stigma, I should say. And there was a period of
Mm.
time, I think especially in the 90s, where a lot of black women, and some still do to this day, had a serious issue with a lot of black men
Oh yes,
coupling with non-black women.
yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
there's some stigma that we have in our own culture and in our own people, within our own people, about interracial couples. But I don't know if you can talk a little bit about anything that you've experienced or that you're hearing when it comes to, especially in this current climate, some of the struggles that some of our interracial couples might be experiencing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was on my forum all mixed up the other day, and I had she is, Lord, she's Puerto Rican,
Mm-hmm.
and her husband is black. She just got married, and she said, "Listen, I am in a very tough spot because it's like you're not you're not enough to be this, you're not enough to be that." And then she wanted to know, does he expect me to say something? Like,
Mm-hmm.
does or am I supposed to? Which she's Spanish, so that wasn't, sometimes they couple us all up together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but she's still feeling it because people are still asking her, and so it's like, do you expect? I'll say for me, I expected my parents, my mother or my grandparents or somebody to say something or to have at least a point of view that wasn't idiotic, right? So you should love me enough to say something. But I think with interracial relationships right now, I think if it's black and white, um, the temperature is very hot because it's like, are you going to say something, post something, do something? Did you
Mm.
know that we just had Juneteenth? Did you know that Black Lives Matter? Are you going to say something? Because you're with me and you need to support this side and whatever. So I think that there is a struggle because what she said was, I don't know if I'm going to be accepted because I'm not black. So should I say? And I said, well, yeah, they're looking for you to say something, but I understand where you're coming from because people said it to me. Like when I was like, I'm a black queen. Remember that post that was going around with tagging the women, and it was like,
Yeah.
I'm a black queen. Whatever. I put mine up. I got hate mail up the wazoo. It was like, no, you are
What?
not a black queen. Oh
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? My and the post is still up. I was actually gonna take it down. I was like, no, I'm not
No,
taking it
yeah,
down
no, don't
because
take it
I'm
down.
a black queen.
That's right. That's right,
But
girl.
yeah.
they attacked me. Black women yet again. You are not black. Stop saying that you're just black. Your mother is white. You came out of a white vagina. You are not black. I was like, okay.
Say
It
that
was
to
a
my
That
lot.
makes
face.
Some of those
no
comments may still be on there.
sense
I
at
need you to say
all.
that
That's
to my face.
hateful.
Let's
That
roll
is
that.
evil. And there ain't no room
Mm-hmm.
for it. I'm sorry. That was
All I got
See,
to
I'm
hateful and
say
it
out.
was
is
See,
evil.
look, hey,
pull up.
hey, look,
Say
see,
that to
black
my
girl,
face.
look, we got to be friends on Facebook. I'm heck outspoken. I might just jump on there.
Right.
I might
I
just
need to
jump on
friend
there.
you
As
because
soon as
we
we
Yeah,
trust
as soon as
me.
we
I'm
live,
at the fridge.
we'll
I'm about to
definitely.
jump on there. I got to say
But
something.
I just want to say
It's
say
the truth.
something to that
It's the
though, and
truth,
I
y'all.
think
It's real talk.
that
I didn't know
people. Oh,
that it
I'm
was.
sorry.
I mean, I don't think people knew that it was this big of an issue. I think
Mm.
that some black people especially feel like, well, you got best of both worlds. You shouldn't be upset or you shouldn't feel anything right now, or you got good hair. First of all, there are black women that I know who have better hair than me. All black women, two
Mm.
black parents. So I think that what black women do, I think out of anger from whatever is going on, and I think this stems back all the way to slavery, right? When
Hmm.
white men were impregnating black women,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
right? And so then here comes all of this long line of light skinned, blue eyed women, but are still considered black, or like they called me when I was growing up, house niggers. Um,
Mm.
I got called that a lot. You can't play with us out here. You go back to the house. You go cook. You go. So that's why I'm such a cook to this day because while the other kids were outside playing, I was in the house cooking
Mm.
Mm.
because that was my
Wow.
job.
Wow,
Isn't that
So
horrible?
I
That's
wanted to
it
horrible.
is
touch on
horrible.
that. I
It's
wanted to
horrible.
touch on that because that's
Very horrible.
exactly where I was going to go. I was going to
She's
say,
saying something.
do
I can't
you?
hear her though.
Oh,
Oh, you
can you
can't
hear
hear?
me
You can't
now?
hear it?
Her
Can you
mic
hear
went
me?
out,
Oh, that's too bad.
and I know it was something
Oh.
good too.
Well, hold on. Go ahead. Exit out. Come back in, Leah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll bring Leah right back. Blair, I got to be careful with this.
Hey, you know me.
Yeah. So if somebody is married to an individual that they do not feel is speaking up enough, a white individual that they do not feel is speaking up enough or at all, how would you suggest to confront that?
Um, First of all, it's you need to find out if it's a love issue, right? Because
Mm.
if I let's take it down to me being a Christian, right? I have people that I know that are not Christians. They're great people, but they're just not Christians, right? So what if when I was around them, I decided not to not to talk about Jesus,
Hmm.
right? Or I
Mm.
hid the fact that I was a Christian to make them feel comfortable. How would that make how would that make them, you get what I'm saying? Like what
Yeah.
does that make me? I'm ashamed now. And
Hmm.
so if I really love somebody, which I really love God, he's gonna be God to me no matter where I go, who I'm talking to. I don't care if you're the biggest atheist. I don't care who you are. That's my
Mm-hmm.
God, right?
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people think that they're in love, but they're in love with an idea, and they're really not in
Mm.
love authentically with the person. And because there is no way that I could love somebody and allow or be ashamed of that love, no matter what it is. So I think that a big conversation needs to happen where it's like, hey, you may not have to go downtown and protest, but I think you hiding or not speaking up or not saying enough or not educating yourself properly is actually a disservice to this relationship.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
either you need to educate yourself and get better, or we need to we're at a crossroads. Something
Hmm.
else needs to happen because you're with me for
Yeah.
another reason there.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
and that still it
That's good.
still stems back to it's slavery, and even up until, maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago, this has been a
Mm-hmm.
consistent issue throughout the African American community and our experience here in the Americas, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
and what I was going to say earlier was that the slave master would sleep with the men, I mean the women, and the men sometimes. That's a whole nother whole nother show. But
Mm-hmm.
sleep with the women, and the women, the wives, would sleep with the men, and they would have all of these biracial children. And there was a movie, I can't remember if it was Redwood or I don't know. It was one of these
Rosewood.
Rosewood or I
Rosewood.
don't know which one it was, but it was a moment in the movie where the lady was riding in a carriage, and her hair, although it was curly, she had it flat ironed extremely straight, and she was
Mm-hmm.
really light skinned, and she was related to the person that was actually carrying her in the carriage, and they got away from other people that were coming towards them to do harm to them because of her skin tone. And later on in the movie, somebody had approached her about it, and she was like, I only get away because of my skin. I only get away because of my complexion. I'm only alive today because of my complexion, because I can pass as white. And it's been an advantage to pass as white and a negative to be dark skinned, since the slavery days, up until the point where they were freed, emancipated, up until the point where, we had Black Wall Street. Even at that point, if you was light skinned, you had other advancements that other people could not get to. So I feel like we do need to change the narrative when it comes to our interracial couples, our mixed children, biracial children. We need to change that narrative and come together and stand united and kind of break down those walls. But it's so deep rooted that I see your point of view, but I also see the dark skinned sister who can't seem to take the blinders off too. You know what I'm saying? Like at
I
some point
understand.
everybody has to see everybody. And it's just weird that, it took you having to go through the things that you went through with your family to raise this conversation within the Christian community, because
Hmm.
it's embedded in that as well.
Big time.
But
I
and
have
I
children.
totally get what you're saying.
Oh, go ahead.
I was
I'm
gonna say,
sorry.
we got a minute left. Blair, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to give your final thoughts.
I'm sorry. No, what I was gonna say is while you're while you have your blinders on and trying to, basically come against me, understand that they're also coming against me because
Exactly.
Hmm.
I don't look anything like them. At least I look like you. So
Yeah.
so accept me, and I've never
Exactly.
been one to say, oh, I just want you to like me. No, but just accept me because we black. I mean, it just
Yeah.
is
That's
what
right.
it is. I'm
But
happy about them.
even if you look like your Sicilian mother, because one of my nephews looks exactly like his mama, and that baby is pale as I don't know what. And if his hair is cut, you wouldn't know if he was black or white. But I promise you, you say one thing, and Auntie is coming through to smash it out. Don't talk about my nieces and my nephews. And we need to be like that with
I know
everybody.
that's right.
We need
I
to be
agree.
like that with everybody that's a part of us. You know what I
Yes.
mean? You skin folk. You part of us. You know what I mean? Which is why we got to
Mm-hmm.
break that. We have to have these conversations because some
We
people
do.
don't even realize how offensive they are to your very own people. It's
Yeah.
Absolutely.
ridiculous. It's sad, but yeah. So I'm done talking. I know we have
Yeah.
to go.
I
And
just
there's
want
a
to
healing.
affirm.
Okay.
Let me affirm what Blair has said earlier for our interracial couples out there, because I see a lot of them popping on right now.
Mhm.
those who are either married to someone of a different race and those who have children of a different race. I don't know if you heard it before, but Blair was really talking about educating yourself and being prepared for the things that are to come your way. Just it'll strengthen your relationship, it'll strengthen your resolve, your understanding, your empathy and compassion one for another. But it's important. I just wanted to affirm what she had said, that and being there for your children, understanding what they'll be experiencing as well.
And hold your family accountable. Don't allow
Yes.
your
Hold.
Please.
family to mistreat your children. If they're mistreating your children, do deny them access. Don't let your
Yeah.
children go through what you had to experience. That the
Yes.
Come on.
devil is alive. We
Yeah.
rebuke that. You guys stand together as one.
Yeah.
That's the best
Love.
way to
Yeah.
handle it.
Come
But
on,
And I
yeah,
always
just
say
missionary.
this:
hush.
love your spouse and love your children enough to put your own self on the line, your own
Thank you.
Mm,
reputation, your own, because it's that's not really love if you can't put your own well-being on the line for the people you say you love. You got to do that. You got to step in, like Blair was saying. You educate yourself, please. Educate yourself. If you're dating a black woman, educate yourself on the black culture because you're gonna have some black
amen.
kids. You know what I'm saying? If you're a
Yeah.
white woman dating a black man, educate yourself because you're going to
It's a
produce more
Christian.
than likely, his babies. Do what you got to do. Educate yourself, and then go and recognize that no, it's not their plight. It's our plight now. We in this thing together, and you got to do
Together.
that. Like because I always say this: all this chocolate come at a price. Now you don't be
Come
playing now.
on.
This chocolate, you better stand up for it. All the chocolate come at a price.
Right.
You better you
All
better step
right.
in there.
On that
You
note,
you know I got to be silly.
Christian,
Thank
do we
Big
have time?
Q
Do we have
there.
time for me to end off with a thought?
Oh yes,
Do
absolutely,
we have time
absolutely.
for me to end off with a thought?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so really quick, what I said on my forum all mixed up was, you know how kids when you play with Play-Doh, right? All of that Play-Doh, it comes in each color comes in a different can, right? When the kids start playing with it though, it never stays to its own color.
mm,
That's right.
Eventually, they're gonna have a ball of just mush, and it's gonna be every color, and they don't care. They just play with it, right? That's how
Hmm.
God sees us. He created us all to be
Agree.
different and to be all mixed up, no matter who we were. So
That's
teach
right.
your children and teach yourself, even if you're old as heck. You need to learn. You're still teachable. Learn to love
That's right.
yourself and learn to love other people for who they are. And the people that are evil right now, it's not the color. It's literally the dumb and the evil spirits that they're dealing with. So that's what I would
Agree.
say.
Absolutely. Thank you
Agree.
so much, Blair. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this conversation. Thank you to everybody that watched. This has
Yes,
been a great, 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 great special edition of Real Talk. Everybody, we will be back this Friday for another edition
Awesome.
of Real
Awesome.
Talk with the hot topics that are going on that are affecting our community. So, as always, stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.
All right.
thanks
God
for
That's
bless.
having me,
awesome, man.
guys. Bye.